Good morning. Welcome to Affordable and Effective Onboarding for New Staff. My name is Heidi Louise. I am the moderator for today's session, along with your presenter, Steve Stuckey. We appreciate you joining us for the CypherWorx K-12 online training program, Affordable and Effective Onboarding for New Staff. Our intent is to provide you with information you will find beneficial. To allow you to make the most out of your session today, I'd like to give you a quick tour of the Zoom webinar control panel. The panel will look like the one on your screen. Your microphone will be muted, but we want you to feel free to raise your hand or ask questions in the chat during the presentation. I will constantly monitor both areas to alert Steve and make him aware of any questions that come in. Now I will hand it over to Steve.
Great, thank you so much, Heidi, and thank you everyone for joining today. My name is Steve Stuckey here, and I'm actually going to turn off my camera so we can pay attention to the slides here. But I just want to say welcome to today's session. Today we're going to be talking about effective and affordable onboarding for new staff. I'm very excited to chat with you about this. Looking forward to sharing this information with you. So my personal journey in adult education actually started out, I hate to say, several decades ago when I was working with one of the top 100 training companies in the United States and working with the training center there. I then joined CypherWorx just over 10 years ago. And for the past 6 years, I've been working with school districts, state agencies, and after school and early childcare programs around the country. And in working with so many businesses of all types over the last 30 plus years, I've been able to observe many different organizations, their culture, best practices, and frankly, some real no-nos as well. So I'm very passionate about helping organizations make the most of these training technologies that are now available today, as well as the data and really the latest in the learning processes that make a real difference in the lives of not only employees, but also in the children and adults that we serve. So let's get rolling with today's topic. And again, thank you for joining. So first, I wanted to share with you this slide, which I think is really good. A lot of times when we talk about onboarding, we maybe talk about, hey, let's welcome them aboard and start giving them training. But I think that this slide does a good job of really illustrating the fact that onboarding starts with really the very first interaction with individuals as they're looking at evaluating where they're going to go work. So you'll see that we go through a process of what happens in pre-onboarding, what happens in the orientation, then their basic soft and core skills training, and then ongoing training and development. So first, the basics. So onboarding exists to support the new hire as they gradually become familiarized with the company's culture, values, and unspoken rules. The process consists of a series of events that are designed to aid employees to integrate into their departments. Effective employee onboarding, it helps new employees feel welcomed, leading to job satisfaction, which in turn results in increased employee engagement, which of course is what we all want. Proper onboarding leads to less turnover, higher employee motivation, and increased production. So investing the time and effort in creating an effective onboarding process is well worth it for both the employee and for the organization. So how long will a typical onboarding last? Well, a thorough onboarding program often begins from the very moment a recruit accepts the job offer, and I would say even before that, but it can last up to a year or longer. So within this time frame, new employees can expect to take part in orientation, actively participate in presentations, and take on new projects. Regular meetings with their managers and human resources are also scheduled to monitor their progress. So you can see that it's really clear why much more than a month is required. There's an awful lot to do if you're doing it effectively. So in general, onboarding describes a series of events that enable a new employee to learn what they need to do to meet the responsibilities of their new positions. Orientation, on the other hand, refers to the initial welcome when a company provides to a new hire, right? Usually over the course of a single day or a couple of days. So what are the 4 phases of onboarding? Well, as we talked about, you can see on the screen, phase 1 is what we call pre-onboarding. Phase 2 is welcoming the new hires. And phase 3, job-specific training. And phase 4, ease of transition into the new hires role. And as you can see, and probably experience this, it takes some time, and it also takes some effort to really plan what the process is going to look like. So let's take a look at the importance of onboarding, first of all. So onboarding is important because it acclimates employees to their role, and more importantly, I think, to the company's philosophies and what the company has to offer. It also engages employees, creating workers that are committed to the company's success, and helps retain new hires by making them feel welcome as a member of the team. And obviously that's critical. We want to make sure that they feel welcome and this is where they belong. So for an onboarding program to be effective and successful, you really should proactively and purposefully onboard your new hires for their entire first year. A successful onboarding strategy will reduce attrition and increase employee engagement, both of which impact your customer satisfaction as well as your bottom line, and really in significant ways. So if you look at the cost of improper onboarding, you can see this right on the slide. It's a 50% failure rate that companies experience in retaining new hires. And so when you look at that, just think about if my rate is a 50% failure rate, what would happen if I could actually change that, even by a small percentage? It's pretty significant when it comes to the cost and the well-being of the organization. 25% of new hires leave within a year. That's a pretty startling statistic here. And then 22% staff turnover happens within the first 45 days of employment. So you might say part of that has to do with my evaluation of the proper candidate. Maybe it's a mismatch or what have you. But in any one of these 3 areas that you can see, if we can change that percentage for our organization, well, it's going to be much better for us. So if you were able to move that needle, what if you reduced your turnover by a few productive employees this year? How about more than that? Another way to look at this is to envision, excuse me, your top 40% of your employees, and envision the team where, all of those employees are in the same place. They all understand the culture and direction, et cetera. So here's some thoughts on some best practices for you as you create your plan, or as you look at maybe enhancing or improving your existing onboarding plan. Number 1, employees really need to be immersed in your culture from day one. So how do you immerse your employees into your culture? Well, a great way to start is to share with them your company's vision, mission, and core values. So when an employee understands the purpose behind the company, which is their vision, how the company plans to fulfill that purpose, which is the mission, and the guiding set of beliefs and behaviors that will help the company achieve its purpose, those are the core values, then the employee can align with their own beliefs and behavior to see how they not only align with the values, but contribute to the company's overall purpose. And I think this really starts with the interview process, the interview and selection process. And that points to this last statistics on the left-hand side here, staff turnover happening within the first 45 days of employment. Obviously, we want to make sure that we get the right people to the right position. So number 2, employees really need to understand on how to be successful in their new role and how success is measured. So from day one, employees should know what a successful employee at your organization does. What do they look like? Find model employees to mentor with and to speak to your new team members to show them what success looks like at your company. Set your short-term goals for your new hires to meet. review them, and offer real applicable feedback on what they did and did not do well in meeting those goals. Again, you can boil this down to communication. You want to empower the new employees with the ability to think independently and offer the best way to make decisions autonomously at your company, right? It's about what they're doing, the decisions they're making when you're not there. That's what we're trying to get them to do. And that's all going to align with our values and mission. So this will not only engage your employees from the start, but also contribute to a culture of innovation and continuous improvement. And I think you can imagine if you've been in organizations like that, how much of a difference that is. Those folks that are giving feedback like, I love my company. I love the work that I do. I love my organization. Those are the employees, obviously, that stay. So number three, one thing to be recognized in this whole process is that employees need to be checked in on regularly. And checked in on maybe is not the best thing, maybe a touch point or what have you. But this really should go on well beyond the first year. So when an employee first starts, the direct manager should be meeting with them in the first few days at the very least, and with a weekly one-on-one meeting every week after that. Ideally, the new employee will meet with their boss's boss and everyone else up and down the succession line on some sort of regular cadence. Sometimes folks call this skip level meetings, right? So as I mentioned earlier, setting up some sort of buddy or mentoring program really helps employees get to know other people in their department or across the company. This helps with culture immersion as well. So creating a culture of happy, engaged, and inspired employees really starts with their onboarding experience. So be sure to plan for a year-long strategy, at the very least, to immerse your newest team members into your culture. So again, you really don't want your only communication with those employees in month 3 and 6 and 9 really just to be that paycheck that they get each week. It needs to be much more engaging, and that feedback, that communication is absolutely critical. So what you can achieve here is, with a quality program, possible increase in staff retention. In the world of childcare, this is probably the most critical issue right now that I hear every day in my conversations across the country. If I can increase my staff retention, and you can, studies show, by 82%, that's significant. Now I'm listening, right? So 54% higher engagement. This means that the employees that you have are even more engaged. They're more focused. They're present in the moment. One of my favorite sayings is, wherever you are, be there. Now, if I can get 54% increase in my employee engagement, that's only going to increase my quality, and it cycles through to everything. How long I'm maintaining my clients, my customer service satisfaction, and so forth. And interestingly, you'll see that there's a 20% increase in manager satisfaction. This is pretty obvious, and I would say that if I'm not spending time constantly recruiting and bringing new people aboard and looking for the right fit and teaching people the very basics and so forth, I'm definitely going to be much more satisfied and pleased as a manager. So let's take a look at the benefits of onboarding here. So you'll see some of the statistics here. Companies with an engaging onboarding program retain 91% of their first year workers. And the key here is an engaging onboarding program, which is why I emphasize that. They retain 91% of their first year workers, which, if you compare that to the previous slide of how many people are leaving in their first 45 days or within their first year, if you've got a quality, engaging onboarding program, this is really significant. But obviously it requires time and thought and investment. The second item here, new hires with a well-structured onboarding program were almost 70% more likely to remain in a company for up to 3 years. So if you're moving that needle and getting folks to stay on with the company longer, that knowledge is staying within the organization and not walking out the door. Next one is onboarding improves company ROI by more than $79,000 a year. And so you'll see the source there for clipboarding. By the way, I should mention, if anybody would like to have a copy of these slides, please reach out to us. You can put your email in the chat box if you'd like, and we'll make sure that you get that. And then I like this image here, the shared benefits of onboarding. Some of these may be fairly obvious here to you, but from the employer side, obviously you'll see the cost savings and lower turnover. On the employee's side, higher job satisfaction and access to career opportunities. The more they stay with an organization and they see a compelling vision of the future, that is obviously positive. Now, the shared benefits here in the middle are better performance, organizational commitment, and lower stress. We all like that, right? So what we're advocating here is putting together that engaging quality onboarding experience to really help address some of the challenges that unfortunately we're all facing right now. So onboarding is important because it acclimates employees again to their role, philosophies, what the company has to offer. It also engages employees, creating workers that are committed to the company's success, right? They're not just there to get a paycheck and look out for themselves. They feel and understand the value of the mission. And so they're really working for the company's success. And it helps retain new hires by making them feel like a member of the team. They've joined this new family and they're shared with their vision. And that's going to affect their decisions, their interactions with the kiddos and parents and school administrators, et cetera. So according to a survey conducted by Career Builder and Silk Road Technology, 9% or 1 in 10 have left a company because of poor onboarding experience. That's pretty compelling. 37% of employees said their manager did not play a critical role in their onboarding experience support. So really, obviously, a key portion of this is to have those managers involved. Without proper onboarding procedures, increases in your employee turnover and loss of, without proper onboarding procedures, increases in employee turnover and loss of productivity occur. So this decreased employee engagement costs companies a lot of money every year. And this is particularly the case in childcare. Conversely, when employees are engaged, 87% of them are less likely to leave their company, meaning that they're 5 times less likely to leave compared to unengaged employees. When a company has a great onboarding, almost 70% of employees are likely to stay for at least 3 years. We saw that in the slide. And roughly a quarter of all companies, so that's 25% of all companies, have no formal onboarding process. But as research from MIT Sloan Management suggests, the onboarding period can be the most crucial time in employees' experience at a company, with an enduring influence on engagement, performance, and retention. The Society of Human Resource Management says that HR professionals face 2 major challenges right now: increase for competition for talent, and building a strong culture to establish a firm employer brand and to attract the best and brightest. And we talk about a firm employer brand, that is a brand presented to the employees. And obviously we all want to attract the best and brightest, and most importantly, keep them. So really you simply can't afford to not have an effective onboarding process in place. So best practices. These are some great points of information here for you as well. So new hires say that training during the first week on the job is most important to them. That's 75%. New hires are saying training during the first week is the most important to them. That's a pretty compelling statistic. 56% say new hires say having a buddy or a mentor at work is very important when getting started. And I've seen this from employers that I've had in the past, and witnessing new employees come aboard, right? So they'll have their conversations or their training from management or senior management or what have you. But having a buddy and connecting with somebody that is a coworker and, really finding out, okay, what is it really like? Well, if they're matched with a buddy who is a top performer, knows how the system works, knows how the company works, and is really echoing that, any of those types of interactions with the culture and your values that really becomes truth. So I think that's an important notion there. And then 41% of HR professionals feel they needed to update training and onboarding. So that too is a pretty compelling statistic. And I see that very often, right? We all get busy with different priorities and changing and so forth. But I think we've already seen from the statistics and the data how critical this onboarding piece is. So it's interesting, in my experience, I've seen a lot of different data on this particular next topic, which is what is the cost of replacing an employee? So one statistic is that it could be as high as $6,000 or more. But the total cost, including the opportunity cost, loss of productivity, cost of recruiting, hiring, training, all in, is oftentimes quoted as 2 to 5 times the annual salary of the employee. So if you factor in things like lost relationships, lost knowledge and experience, lost clients, the weight on the employees that do stay, right? We've all witnessed this. If you've got a staff of 10 and 2 or 3 people leave, that just having that knowledge and that experience and those relationships walk out the door are really potentially damaging. So that's why it's so important to onboard new hires diligently. You should really aim to teach a new employee the relevant skills for the job and build trust in the organization during that new onboarding process, which we already talked about, that really needs to take place over a year. So employees leave for a number of different reasons, right? Oftentimes it might be dissatisfaction with the management. It could be compensation, although that's seldom is compensation the number one issue. Compensation obviously is a big one, but it's also one that we seldom can control. It might be lack of career advancement opportunities. They don't see a compelling vision of the future. It could be insufficient benefits or other things. But many of the potential issues can actually be resolved by setting up new hires to succeed. And personally, from my experience, I see that's very, very rare that an employee comes aboard and wants to do a bad job or doesn't want to be with the company. You know, we all seek belonging and being with that family. And you know, we spend most of our waking hours at work. We want to make sure that we're in the right place, we're being heard, and that we are communicating. So we'll look at these top 10 items here in terms of this process. So number one here at the top, make onboarding part of the recruitment process. And so keep in mind that any of your first interactions, right? This goes to first impressions. No, you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. So when that person comes in and says, hey, I'm interested in learning more about your organization, that's really when that onboarding process starts. Second thing is link your design of your onboarding program to your culture, your values. Design a process, not an event. It's not a one-time event. Those interactions, those touch points, you need to make them timely. You also need to make them fresh. And I've heard one statement of say, you know, delight your new employees. You want them to have an exceptionally good experience coming on board, which goes into number 6, design something memorable, right? So we all have friends and spouses, significant others, that type of thing that we go back and, you know, after our first day of work, how was work today? What did you think? And so you want to make that process memorable. And again, number 7, make a good first impression. Number 8, get executives, human resources, and hiring managers involved. Now, this is probably, in my opinion, one of the most important things, is making sure that everybody understands that we're welcoming a new person to the family. So that means that if that new person coming aboard is not hearing or being recognized by people in, say, different departments and managers and right up to the executive team, they're not really going to feel fully a part of that family. So it's critical that you get involvement from everybody in the organization. And then obviously you want to design this to be inclusive. Again, this goes back to welcoming people aboard, and then obviously using a blended approach, different modalities to speak to all of us because we're all different types of learners. So Again, you want to make onboarding part of the recruitment process. And so you want to think about how you're going to onboard this new employee while you're recruiting them, or better yet, ahead of time. So reach out to new employees before their start date. This is a great process, one that we use internally as well. So when we bring on somebody new, we welcome them aboard before they even start. We might send them a team email, and everybody on the team gets to welcome the new employee aboard. I think that's a new and memorable way to welcome people before they even start. Make their first day memorable, right? You want to keep things structured for them, really in their first week. But I think that first day is really important, right? If they have a desk or an area where they're working, if they have materials, whether it's a laptop or a manual or anything like that, have that available. I've seen people, bring in cookies or a treat or decorate their work area, those types of things. You may be already doing that. And if so, I applaud you, because this is, anything that you can do to make them feel welcome is going to be very helpful. One of the things that I think is really effective too, that I've seen, is folks developing a cross-developmental strategy, or a cross-developmental onboarding team, a cross-departmental onboarding team. And what this means is that, while I may work in one part of the organization, I want to be welcomed and connected with everyone in every different function, whether it's accounting or scheduling or whatever that might be. Another point is to spread out the paperwork, right? Do you want your first day to be, 6-8 hours of just filling out paperwork and benefits and that type of thing? So I've seen people spread out that paperwork. Some of that stuff doesn't necessarily need to be all done in day one. You might want to spread that out and really mix things up, so that their process in that first day or that first week is not just so text and paperwork heavy. So again, get the whole company involved, get the whole organization involved in welcoming that new employee and bringing them on. Set their expectations early and often. Here's what we're doing, and a lot of successful organizations are really talking about that onboarding and training process in the interview process. And so a lot of the top organizations that I've seen that really have kind of beat the odds in terms of turnover and employee retention really do a good job with that, is talking about the training process and the onboarding process really from day one. You also want to allow the new employees or the new hires to be able to give their feedback. How are you doing? Those check-in points are critical. Again, throughout, you want to be communicating the culture early and often, right? So everything that you do, or to as much as possible, try to communicate that culture. And here's why we make the decisions. Here's, again, our values. The other thing is, don't expect the new hires to hit the ground running. If you're replacing a position of somebody who's been there for quite some time, for example, they're very productive. Understand and recognize the fact that it's going to take some time for that new person to understand everything about the company, about the position, so that they can be effective. Again, my belief is that people come to organizations, they want to be successful, they want to do a good job, they want to be liked and appreciated, and they want to be heard. So we need to do the best thing that we can to welcome them aboard. So now we're going to talk about automated onboarding process support from the CypherWorx perspective. So the CypherWorx Learning Content Management System, or LCMS, really is designed to help support you in the whole onboarding process. We just spent the last several slides and the last several minutes talking about why it's important, what you need to do in an ideal situation. Certainly don't feel like you have to have all of these things in place tomorrow. It's a process. But the good thing is that the CypherWorx team has really developed some great tools and resources to make this process as easy as possible for you. So this slide on the left is just illustrating the fact that your CypherWorx LCMS can integrate with through API, SFTP, webhooks, and other types of integration tools to connect your payroll or HR employee management databases directly to the learning content management system. This means that when you onboard an employee, you bring them on, you put them into payroll or another system, they can automatically be added without you doing anything right into their department or reporting group right within the learning management system, and immediately be assigned courses. So for instance, you may have a new employee onboarding course. We'll talk about that here shortly. But you can actually bring them right to that and get them rolling. So then you'll see that this next image here, this is a notion of those reporting groups, right? So that individual will be brought in, put right into that proper reporting group, and again, assigned a course immediately. So actually, I'm going to go ahead and attempt to switch gears here because I want to share with you a slide, if I may. All right. Okay, thank you, Google. It's asking me to reassign myself. So back here we are into reporting groups. So here's what I wanted to share with you. Again, you've got information coming in right from your payroll HRIS system. You'll see I've got a number of different sample groups here. If you're a school district, it'll assign that individual right into whatever their position is. If you're an after-school program and you're working at Pineview Elementary, this will put you right into that employee, right into that particular reporting group. And one thing that I want to mention here to make your life easy is you'll see that in this particular group, they're being assigned these courses automatically, right? So this could be your new employee orientation course. This could be a learning path that you've got them signed up and ready to go into. And that, again, is all automated for you. All right, so I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint slide here. And we'll take a look at pre-hire assessment. So I've talked a little bit about the fact that you want to really start this process in the very beginning, right in the interview process. So the team's developed a great tool here using assessments and a pre-hire assessments to really help you find the right employee fit in the first place. So we recommend that folks use a pre-hire assessment during the interview process. So with the assessment tool, what happens is you can set up a pre-hire assessment that's completely customized to the unique needs of your organization. Or if you choose, you can tie it to existing program quality assessments like WICER or the California After School Network, or whatever program quality assessments used in your state if you want to. But the pre-hire assessment tool, what it does is it allows you to set up a series of competencies for the employees in your organization. What are the competencies that you need to make sure that these folks have so that they are a good fit? So you can send a link and you can share this link to your prospective employees and they can answer a series of questions. It's really a quiz, right? Or a survey, if you will. And those questions are related to a competency area that really will gauge their level of comfort with that question on a rubric. So you can then see the results for each employee and then decide if you want to move them forward in the interview process. If you do ultimately hire them, you can be auto-assigned training courses in gap areas post-hire. So what that means is that first step is you have them take the assessment, you get the results, then you decide if you want to move them forward in the interview process. If you ultimately hire them, the system then is designed to automatically assign them specific courses. They'll get their own personalized learning plan to help them move forward once they hire. So this really helps you understand who at the very beginning is really best fits the needs and the culture of your organization, and then helps you better tailor their training and onboarding programs to the needs of that new employee. So you also have the ability to create a new employee orientation course. So this is one of those things that that CypherWorx has had great experience doing. We've created a number of new employee orientation courses that are customized to each organization. So you can, for instance, work with the CypherWorx instructional design team. This is an award-winning instructional design team. We can help you build out a complete new employee orientation training course from scratch with your information and program. And you can use our template to customize the onboarding experience. So I'm going to attempt to launch this sample course here for you. Just to give you an idea, this is actually a sample course that we created for the YMCA of Southampton Roads as an example. And I should mention that these courses are available on any type of device, right? This means that folks can take these courses on their cell phones, tablets, laptops, whatever they might have access to. Most all of us have cell phones. And so I'm just going to click on Start This Course. And one of the things that you'll see is there's actually a video that is available. This is addressed right from the executive team. All right, I'm going to turn down the volume here. So this is a great introduction for those new employees where the executive team is actually talking about the culture and values and mission and why they joined and why they stayed with the organization. Okay. Looks like I just got the message that the screen is not showing. So bear with me 1 second here. I'll see if I can. All right. So are you seeing that course now? Hopefully you're seeing the YMCA course. All right, forgive me for the technical issues here. So again, this is the YMCA course. These are the executives who are addressing those new hires. Well, you'll see along the left-hand side here that this is going to take folks through the process of the mission and the values. It's even going to show their employee handbook, all of their policies and so forth, a number of different items on where folks can access this information. In this case, they've chosen to include a lot of the basic policy courses that they need to have, whether it's bloodborne pathogens or child abuse prevention, those types of things. And there's going to be court interactions and videos and so forth. And again, this is all customized to each organization. And then there's a quiz and even electronic signature at the end of this particular course where folks were acknowledging that they've accepted and understood all of these policies and procedures. So hopefully that was a helpful introduction just to kind of show you what a new employee onboarding course might look like. So now I'm going to attempt to go back here to our slideshow. All right, so hopefully you can see the new employee orientation slide. And again, folks can access this on any device. So I think it's important just to know that you can set up any one of those types of things right within the system. Now, the next thing that I wanted to share with you is a learning path, because a learning path is really ideally suited for the new employee onboarding process, but you'll see that you've got the opportunity to create as many learning paths as you want to. So you might have a management learning path, those types of things. So what is a learning path? A learning path is a selection of courses. It could be discussions, resources. It could be access to a third-party training provider, and also live trainings. So live or virtual trainings all tied together for learners to progress through a path to help them get acclimated to your organization as quickly as possible. So a learning path really allows you to put together a comprehensive onboarding program that can last for however long you like. It can be used for a 1 week, 3 month, or even a full year onboarding program with multiple events, trainings, meetings, discussions, access to documents, and more. So why would I want to use a learning path? Well, number one, it creates a more structured training program. So commonly, learning paths are used to add structure to these onboarding programs. So when rolling out an onboarding program, learning paths really give you the ability to control both the order in which the assignments happen and also the time frame in which the assignments become available. Number two, it saves you time as an administrator or manager. So from your point of view as an administrator, as an admin, it's important, it's normal for learning paths to be set up well in advance of new employees being enrolled to condense the administration time, right? So once you've set this up, it's kind of like the Ron Popeil notion of set it and forget it, right? The other thing that I think is a huge advantage is that now your onboarding process becomes consistent for every new employee that you bring on. They have a consistent experience, consistent language. And then once you set up the new employee on the path, they're really largely self-sufficient, right? You've assigned them or automatically assigned them the learning path. They know what to do. They know what the next steps are, and this will serve them up the next level of training as they come. So the learner finishes one activity and then they're automatically added to the next. So really as an administrator or manager, there's really no additional work needed from you. Other than you may want to go back in and pull up reporting and take a quick look at how are they progressing? Are they 20% completed? Are they 50% completed, 90% completed? Maybe they haven't started yet. So this is all visible to you right within your reporting dashboard. So the third item is that this drives them to a goal, right? So from the new hire's perspective, a learning path ensures that they're working towards the overall goal, and it keeps them on track and engaged with your onboarding process. The learning path sequence also allows new hires to focus on the goal that they're currently working on without being overwhelmed, right? So it'll serve this up whenever they're ready, whenever they have a free time, they can access this anytime they have access to the internet. They can pull in, they can also go back and review information, right? So if they want to access one of those resources, go back to a particular course, they want to access their new onboarding course, they can always go back at any time. So number four, this can provide for a variety of learning tasks from, completing those online courses. Maybe you have a course that they need to take from the state or other organization. That can all be part of your process. And again, this standardizes your new hire onboarding process. So again, it's consistent with each new hire. So now I'm going to attempt to move over. I just want to show you what a new hire process looks like. All right, bear with me here. And so hopefully you can see the Learning Paths Manager screen. And so you'll see in this particular example, we've got a few different new hire, learning paths examples. And again, we have some organizations with many different learning paths for various functions, or a good example is you want to develop existing employees to become managers. So a lot of times folks will create a new manager, level 1, level 2, level 3. And the great thing is that the employees react very well to this in terms of the feedback that we get, because it's simple, it's easy. They can do this on their own time. And also at the learning path, just note that you can attach a certificate. It can even be a customized certificate to completing that learning path. And as we know, folks love to be able to get those certificates of completion. And I've seen a lot of programs that will post them up on bulletin boards and so forth. And that, again, that training process really becomes part of your culture. So I'm going to click on the edit button. Let's see, I'm off this particular page. So let me see if I can get to a live one. Oh. All right, so bear with me here. Let's see if I can find proper learning path. So I'm going to share with you this learning path here. So I apologize, that had to do with my login process here. So you'll see that this particular learning path, this one happens to be one that we created for Maryland level 1 training, but this will give you an example. So this course might be your new employee onboarding course, for example. But maybe the next step that I want them to do is I want them to download these particular resources. read these documents, view these PowerPoints, maybe watch a video. Then you'll see step 3. I've got them taking 2 more online courses. And in this particular learning path, I also have them participate in a live training event. So again, they have to complete all of these items within a sequence. That's my learning path. And then once they've completed that event, then they will actually get a certificate for having completed that entire learning path. But again, this can be made up of multiple different steps and multiple different modalities. Each one of these learning paths is completely customizable to each organization. It's really up to you. All right, so I'm going to go back to PowerPoint here. So again, we talked about how this saves you time, standardizes your onboarding process. It's really very easy to set up and provide that process for your employees. So I have this slide here available to give you an illustration of some of the different things that you can talk about or different features that you can use. So one that I point out is this Create a Course tool. So you have the ability to create your own online courses, as many as you want to, from PowerPoint. So if you're doing live training today, or if you're doing training on Zoom, for example, and you were to record this session, you can go right into your LCMS, use the Create a Course tool, create your own course, add your audio to those slides or to that course, create a quiz, add a certificate, and you can then add that to a learning path once again. So again, you've got complete control over what experience your new hires are taking advantage of. Again, you've got access to courses, resources. Maybe you want them to participate in a discussion board where they can share ideas, view the discussion board and see what is it that your team is talking about right now. Again, you've got access to course certificates. Individuals can see their transcripts. They'll have complete visibility as to how am I doing. So it's even giving them feedback as to where they're at. As we talked about, there's going to be the opportunity to deliver, track, and manage any of your live or virtual training events as well. Additional training is also available. So if you have requirement in your program where my folks need to be CPR certified, for example, maybe that's a requirement. That can be part of your new employee onboarding learning path, is that they need to upload that certificate showing that they've completed their CPR training. So you may know that the system is all cloud hosted. We talked about the fact that you can integrate with your payroll HRIS system. All the courses that we create are SCORM and AICC compliant. We talked about the assessments tool and how you can create those pre-hire assessments. You can also use assessments with your existing employees. So you can see you've got all kinds of other features. You've got access to the support hub. And more importantly, you've got access to the CypherWorx team that are happy to help consult with you and help you build this new employee onboarding process. So we've gone through this conversation here, first of all, to show you the importance and the impact of a proper onboarding process. We've shown you the statistics and the data as to why this is worthwhile and how this can really address the challenges that we're all facing, which is recruiting and maintaining our staff. We've talked about several different best practices that we've gleaned from our experience over the last many years. And then we took the time to show you how CypherWorx can really make this process easy for you. The thing that I want to make sure to leave you with is, again, that small improvements can really make a big difference. So I encourage you not to look at this as, well, I've got this new project on my plate, but understand that this is really an important process. And starting off with, small steps, small increments, you can really make a big impact in terms of your turnover and employee retention. So finally, I just want to leave you with, and I apologize, I don't have my phone number on there. It's actually 585-545-1562. But I encourage you to reach out via email or put your information in the chat We'd love to have the opportunity to have an individual conversation with you about, the challenges that you're facing and how we might be able to help you. So again, thank you so much for listening and participating in our presentation today. And we encourage you also to visit the CypherWorx.com/K12 link that goes right to our webpage, where you can either view a recorded session, you can view some of the other sessions that we're doing on a regular basis. So thank you so much. Wish you a wonderful day, and appreciate you joining us today. Thank you.